Okay, my friends, I've been reporting on this. This is my extremely serious voice. This woman just got a shot of Embrel, which is Intericet. It's a tumor necrosis factor drug that they shot up above her brain barrier. There's a barrier in here that only lets little tiny things in and only lets little tiny things out. She got an injury to her brain, which created a big thing stuck in her brain, couldn't get out, which is what happens to people with brain injuries, strokes, traumatic brain injuries. It can't get back out. It causes the vagus nerve to have damage. She couldn't hardly walk. She could hardly speak. She couldn't think. Watch this.
Clear.
Clear. She's been tipped upside down to allow the medicine to flow into her brain.
Oh my.
Remember, this is stroke-affected Linda just before the injection.
1, 2, 2. Oh my.
Moments after the shot, she sits up. The change in Linda is something to behold.
It's gone. Hi.
It just keeps getting better and better.
Before
Look,
and
this
then
is only
after
minutes
the
after.
injection?
It's just truly amazing. The change is absolutely miraculous. It's amazing. Every day there seems to be something that's like, oh, I can do that now.
Now, let me just tell you something. This is her, and everybody, I mean not everybody, but I think a majority of them are having this kind of a response. Now, this is what mainstream did to this guy. Now, this was recorded 5 years ago, what I'm showing you right now. So this is 2015. And then I'm going to show you already what they knew about this in 2015 and what this guy on 60 Minutes proclaimed to the world.
Treatment has critics who don't think it's so miraculous.
Well, I believe anyone who offers etanercept for post-stroke plasticity in the current state of the evidence is a snake oil salesman. The blockage is right here.
Neurology professor Dr. Jeffrey Saver is the director of the acclaimed stroke unit at the University of California. He said,
Acclaimed stroke unit. So he is the top professional.
Dr. Tobinick's work hasn't been subjected to independent clinical trials.
It hasn't been subjected to independent clinical trials, he's saying, which means that nobody has authorized him to do this, that peer-reviewed him. Doesn't matter what the evidence is. Until they authorize it, nobody can talk about it. And I know what's happened. I can almost guarantee it. Exactly the same thing happened to me, where I have every bit of evidence and nobody will talk to me about my mud fossils. But this is another issue. But this is the way it works right across the board with people that have the power to crush other people. This guy is one of them.
In medicine, the way to prove a treatment works is the placebo-controlled trial, because we know that the placebo response, the tendency of the body to respond to hope, is remarkable. And the only way to tell that a particular treatment is better than chance is to compare that treatment to a placebo. And that has not occurred with this therapy. So I would say the only proven effect of this treatment in post-stroke disability is to separate patients from their money.
Okay, I feel a little sick just for a second.
The injection can cost patients without health insurance up to $6,000. And the American Academy of Neurology has written a draft warning about etanercept injections for stroke patients. They've concluded that because of the potential for serious adverse outcomes and high cost, clinicians should not offer etanercept to post-stroke disability patients unless treatment is part of a research study.
Yes.
Does that put an end to what you're doing?
Well, I think that conclusion is still a draft conclusion, and we don't feel that is scientifically accurate or a proper conclusion.
Is it possible, though, that Dr. Tobenik is onto something here?
It's always possible that something might work. Pigs might fly, the sun might not come up. And it's also the case that we in traditional neurology are wide open to treatments that seem to come out of left field. We have no reason not to jump for joy.
But you're not jumping for joy.
Unfortunately, I'm not jumping for joy because the evidence is not there.
All right, now, this is 2015. This is one of the biggest big shots in the industry. Let me show you something. Well, Mr. Big Shot, how about this? 2014. Paraspinal Enterocet for post-stroke neurological cognitive dysfunction, scientific rationale, and current evidence. Well, is there any evidence? No evidence whatsoever. What about this evidence? In February 2011, several years earlier, rapid improvement in cognition, improvement in chronic neurological dysfunction, and reduction in chronic intractable post-stroke pain was noted among a series of 3 patients treated off-label 13, 25, and 36 months after stroke with a single dose of Enterocet administered paraspinal injection above the blood-brain barrier. Onset of clinical response was evidenced within 10 minutes. Everyone I've seen, and I'm going to show you a bunch of them right now, of Enterocet dose in each patient. Each patient received a second dose at 22 to 26 days, which was also followed by additional improvement. This is 2014, Mr. Big Shot. This is the problem with everybody I can see in being in positions of power. They don't care about evidence. It absolutely does not matter whatsoever to these people. In any of them, my other research is absolutely undeniable, and it just won't be reviewed. It won't take a look at it. Just like this arrogant doctor here. All right, this is just a couple of minutes before he's getting treated. He's going to stand up. I'm just going to give you a second or two of him trying to walk, and you'll see what his condition is prior to the treatment. Now, this is less than 10 minutes after the treatment. Watch this. He's already walking.
You are lifting it up. Wow, Brexter. Well, that's a pleasure. How's your anxiety level doing that without your king?
Exponentially better.
Really? Because he would have freaked out if you would have done that at home without carrying that.
Just feel like a different person. Hey, stop crying now.
What do you think, Brent?
Come here, bring it in.
Bring it in.
Stir. Look.
All right, here's another one. Here's what he's got to say.
Actually, when I go back this way, or kind of up and back, there's a lot of pain. But this pain is constant right here.
No, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but they decline them like this so that when they give them the shot in the head, all of that stuff stays down and mixes in with the blood that's there and stays down there for a few minutes. I don't know how long you do it for. But now, this is only a few minutes after he gets his shot. So this
I feel
is
a lot better on this side. Pain level, I think is about a 3. If I'm going real far back, not as bad as it was. But straight up, that's fine. Doesn't hurt.
What do you think?
I think it's good.
That's good.
Yeah,
It's better.
yeah, a lot better.
What about the weight of your arm and leg?
It's not as burdensome. It's not as, it feels more free. There's no hesitation. It's just, okay, I can do that. Okay, I can know, and not have to think about where I'm going to land. So that's a huge accomplishment.
His speech, he is so charming.
I'm not struggling to find words. I'm not doing that. I would have never done that before.
Wow.
It's great. It's fantastic. It's that somewhere along the lines, God said, this is the treatment. Why don't you try it? It's a miracle drug and a procedure that every stroke person needs to pursue.
All right, one of the things he's going to mention is about his arms feeling heavy and his legs feeling heavy, and he doesn't know where they are, and like it's the connection to the limbs and the body parts, usually on one side of the body, is what I'm finding. Now, I'm going to let him talk. Let me go back a second or two here. Here goes.
This morning and everything, it's a 9-10, so it's getting really bad.
He's getting really bad
terrible.
with his
It's
pain.
Both side of my face. My arm feels huge, my legs feel huge. I don't know where my foot is most of the time, so when I'm walking.
All right, before he continues on, I just want to say something. That you have to continuously, your mind has to know where your body parts are. And that happens, I believe, through the vagus nerve. Because that is the central pathway to every one of your organs, first of all, to every one of your body parts that I know of, to your brain, to your, your eyes, your ears, your everything. So if something happens to that pathway, and especially when they say, one guy said, I felt like there was a wire running right down my body, and it was just like on fire. And he was just like, you could feel, he said, it felt like it was just like a wire inside of me. Anyway, here goes. This is after he had the, before he said it was all kinds of pain and so forth. Here goes.
You don't feel like you need the cane?
No.
Doesn't need his cane.
Does your walking feel more steady?
Yes. I can feel my leg a lot of it now. It's still real numb right here, but this is getting better. And the pants don't hurt.
Walk.
Now look at the time over here. It's just a little after 3 o'clock. I believe is what the time says.
Oh yeah, he hasn't walked this well since March. If I touch you, are you gonna flinch?
No. It's pretty 2 now.
What about the heaviness of
Look,
your
it's
arm?
really,
It's a lot lighter. So it doesn't feel like an effort. It feels almost like this one does now. My feet feel better, all the way to here. So, but this feels a lot different. I can feel the inside of my shoes. So.
Ooh.
That's why I didn't wear no socks, because the socks bothered my foot. And this doesn't bother as bad when you rub the pants around. So. And my hand doesn't feel like it's giant, so it's going down. So
it's only been a
this
couple of
part of
minutes.
my eye feels really better. So
Because his eye's been really bad since this happened. He's had a lot of...
I was trying to figure a way to get inside my skin and take it off because it hurts so bad. You can ignore this on your hand, you can ignore the leg, but when it's sitting on your face all day long, people can't really understand how much pain you can be in by this.
Isn't that amazing? You know, there's a ton of them. He was in a wheelchair when he went in. He walked out of the wheelchair. This one, she's swallowing more natural. She's had all kind of problems after stroke, swallowing and so forth. This one is from pain, I guess. This one, she can walk now. This one, she feels normal. First time in 11 years, minutes following a single treatment. Now, they are paying attention. Look at this tumor necrosis factor. They just updated this a couple days ago, 24th of November, 2020. Well, what are they talking about? They're talking about genes. They always look for the genes. They don't talk about the other things in your body that affect these things. The gene encodes multifunctional pro-inflammatory cytokine. That means it inflames things because it's attacking stuff. It belongs to a tumor necrosis factor superfamily. It goes on and on. But this cytokine has been implicated in a variety of diseases, autoimmune diseases. That's all the diseases where you can't fight back against being attacked. It's also against insulin resistance, psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, tuberculosis, autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease, cancer. Mutations in this gene affect susceptibility to cerebral malaria, septic shock, and Alzheimer's disease. Now they're saying that the gene itself causes all these issues. I don't necessarily buy that. I do understand that there are genetic problems that seem to run in families, absolutely. And I think I have one, like a psoriasis issue, which is in this genetic area. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody has that same gene problem, because your gene, when it gets expressed and turned on, it says, I have to go down and deal with some chemistry down there. I can't just get expressed and say, hey, go do something, and to what? To what? To what are you going to say it to? Who are you going to tell go do something when the gene gets expressed? It has to have some other partner to work with. It says, okay, here, I'm coming down to you, my bacteria friend, my enzyme friend, my whoever you are. And I am going to tell you what to do to go fight this guy. That's what your brain sends that signal down. That's gene expression. I am going to express to you what that gene told me how to deal with these kind of issues. And then it expresses. But it has to express it to something. And that expression normally, to me, is going to be to a bacteria. And that bacteria is going to say, all right, what do you want me to do? He said, well, I want you to make the stuff you always make that goes and cuts up zinc. And he said, all right, and starts shooting out all these zinc breakers. Now, they're called catalysts. Now, these catalysts break things instantaneously. So if you have the right stuff in your body and the gene is expressed and the right stuff is there and a zinc guy is waiting there, the bacteria guy, and he says, go make the zinc breaker and go send it out, and it's done instantaneously, and the guy never gets to invade you. That's what the immune system does. That's what your immune system does. It says, I see somebody coming here, we got a problem. It's just like if the guy comes to your front door and nobody answers the door, and he opens the door and he comes in and he says, hey, there's nobody here, come on. And 100 other guys come in there and they start rummaging through your house. You're destroyed, just like that. Now, if you're at the door and you got your Mossberg, like I do, they ain't coming through the door. Capiche? Once they're in the door, you're done. Now you got to fight. Now you're in a fight for your life. Literally, it's that simple of a situation. If you cannot keep them out, then you got an issue. Now, once they invade you, and they start taking over the tissues, and especially with this COVID, all it's really doing is taking over a skim layer of tissue, which is what's called squamous cells. And they're the thin layer of cells that let the oxygen through your lungs. And it's a membrane, and it attacks that membrane. You can't breathe, and then it starts to create a lot of inflammation and fluids. And the tissue literally is being destroyed. And then you're in trouble, because that's what takes the oxygen into your body. If you can't respond to that, within a couple of hours, you're done. Seriously, it's that quick, because that stuff is just a slip of a layer of almost nothing. If it had to invade your whole body, that's a different issue. But when this stuff seems to be very, very, very specific for this particular lining. And I think if your autoimmune system, which we just talked about, your autoimmune system says, hey, I just saw something come in. And they've just done this. They did some research on this. They can actually see the different types of bacteria. One bacteria sniffs around for problems, and if it sees it, it turns on another bacteria. That bacteria squirts out enzymes into the bloodstream. They go out, they have little balls on them that attach, little spikes on them. They grab a hold of the bad guy. You're done. Case is closed. Everybody goes home, you have dinner, some ice cream, some brownies, and everything's good. But if you don't have that to fight back, because you didn't have probiotics in your body, you didn't have the bacteria living down there just sitting around waiting to attack somebody, your gene can respond and say, hey, come on, do something. They say, well, there's nobody there. What happened to him? And they say, I don't know, he's gone. Well, where'd he go? So I don't know, the guy he had a root canal and he shot him up with some kind of antibiotics and it killed all kind of guys down here. And half of them came back, but that guy never came back, and so I have nothing I can do. The bacteria is not there, you won't have the enzyme. The enzyme's not there, is not going to produce the molecule, which is the destructive molecule. It's like acid, it's like a toxin to these invaders, and your body knows what to make it, so it makes it specific to that specific invader. Now, when they create vaccines and antibiotics and all that, that's a different issue. They attack populations normally. That's what I believe. Not a vaccine. If they had a monoclonal antibody from a person whose own immune system attacked that invader, and it made a molecule, and that molecule, if you could just get that molecule, that one sequence, into your memory bank, and that's all it is, a memory bank. It's in what's called the CPG islands within your brain, and if you could embed that in there, and anytime it saw this specific code, which is COVID-19, it would go up to the brain would say, well, let me check in the CPG island, see if anybody knows about that specific invader. And so, there it is. It goes back up here, it sends it down the vagus nerve to the bacteria create the killer goes out, more brownies, more ice cream. Okay, I've been running my mouth about how the autoimmune system works, so I'm going to show you. Go call over at, I think he's in one of the big institutions out on the West Coast. This is Seekers. And again, I'm just reporting on what they're talking about and making comments. The Fair Use Act. Now, he's saying your textbooks are wrong. Well, he's right about basically everything. This is what cells actually look like. And in the process of showing the cells, we're going to see the bacteria. We're going to see the release of some kind of enzyme. We're going to see the bacteria that senses invaders. We're going to see the attacking bacteria. We're going to see the factory, which I'm going to stop here and there. It only runs a minute that I have to show you. Now listen.
The hair on my hands just stood up. It's a microscopic universe within each cell.
This is an unprecedented view of the cellular world.
All right, I'm going to stop right there. You see this right here? That is the factory. That's the factory. You see all these little blue things? Those are the workers. This is the product. What do we have here? Explain it to me, Roger. No problem. You have nerves that come down and they go into this factory and they talk to the workers, which are the bacteria. And they tell the bacteria, somebody told me from up in the big shot area, which is called the vagus nerve corridor. At the top of that is your brain, and in the brain, what relates to the brain is a section called the CPG islands. There are a whole series of chunks of the brain that they never know what they did, because they're the memory banks. And what you need is a memory or a program in one of these memory banks, which is the CPG islands, to go to the brain and say, I know what we're being invaded by. Go down and tell this bacteria here, which is Lactobacillus acidophilus, or whatever it is. Tell them to start squirting out enzymes and shoot them out, and they will go and kill the guys. That's what's going on here. The factory, the communications links to the brain, to the CPG islands, back down to the workers to create the toxins, to squirt them out to kill the invaders. That can happen just like that, instantaneously, if your system's working right. If this guy isn't here, they send him back here and they say, okay, go over and do it. And they say, well, where's the guy? He's not here. You're done. Now, watch what happens.
Where we can
See?
actually see
Boom.
immune cells scooping up sugars in the ear of a zebrafish in...
You see him? That just made that molecule, which is the most elegant molecule you can possibly imagine. They're coiled coils, all tangled and weaved together in such a magnificently elegant way that they actually create a program. The molecular attachments are literally a program, which when it hits the molecule it wants to deal with, it can go in and program that molecule, or the molecule itself, because of the way it's programmed, can break apart the other molecule and turn it into little bits and pieces and protect you, save your life. But if this guy isn't here to make that, or wherever it's being made, I think one right here is making some more.
real time.
Focusing only on the crawling immune cells, we've noticed 2 classes of them.
You hear that? 3 classes of immune cells. This is the sniffer. This is going to find out what is going wrong. Then it's going to communicate to the nerve to tell the vagus, to tell the CPG islands, or to ask the CPG islands, do you know what this invader is? Watch.
One team was not hungry at all, but it was very active in terms of trying to figure out, what the environment is.
Trying to figure out what the environment is. It's just, it doesn't eat anything. It doesn't do anything. It looks like this. If it snakes around and it says, is there anybody in here that shouldn't be in here? And if it bumps up to something, it will, with these little ribbons, it will attach to it and say, here, let me see if there's anything on here that I can make sense of. And then it will send that up through the vagus nerve up to the brain. The brain will say, do you recognize any of this? The CPG island says, no, I have never seen that before. It comes back and it says, all right, start attacking. Go get the acidophilus, get the it's all kinds of different types of bacteria, bacterias that are in probiotics that create enzymes. The enzymes are the molecule that kill you, kill the bacteria. But they will also kill you, because viruses are nothing more than enzymes too. Only these enzymes that are viruses attack your chemistry that you live off of. Our enzymes, which we consider good enzymes, kill pathogens that are coming in to attack us, and they also break down our digestive process and give us food to eat and do all the nutrition and all the things in your body to create, products that you need. So this guy is a sniffer. He's looking around. If he sees something up through the vagus nerve, if it finds a match, it comes down and says, okay, we know who to talk to, go to these guys, and they start making it instantly, you're fixed. If it doesn't find a match, it comes down and says, see if there's anything close. If there is, start squirting that stuff out. That's called a cytokine storm. And that's when you have to attack something new. You're going to get stuffy, snuffy, you're going to get feverish, you're going to get hot, you're going to have all kinds of biological activity going on inside of you to try to fight this thing. And in the meantime, that thing is creating inflammation, It's destroying cells, it's creating scar tissue, it's creating all kinds of damage. Now, sometimes the damage is severe enough that you can't repair it. So even if you get better, you're still never going to be 100%. So you need to be ahead of this. That's my point on this, all of this. You need to have the right probiotics in your body. You need to have the right, all of the right things. The bulk has got to be in your intestinal, but it's almost always goes to your intestines. I mean, literally almost always. If you have any disease whatsoever, put it in followed by and intestinal dysfunction or intestinal issues or whatever, gut issues. Boom, you're going to find a match. No. So this guy's sniffing. He finds a problem.
There's another one that was kind of sloshing around with a lot of food in its belly. We can actually conceptualize and visualize and analyze.
He's calling a lot of food in its belly. That's not what it does. Those are immune cells. It's not eating food. It is making and constructing enzymes that go out and kill things.
As the contents of each of these cellular compartments in this crawling immune cell as it's kind of, scooping up its environment.
Is what he's just saying right now. Due to this new technique, and the new technique lets them get the different colored lights and see all these different fabrics and fibers at the same time without damaging them. And they can watch this happen real time, because this is real time. This is not speeded up or anything.
I mean, that is a level of details no one's seen before.
We're living in a
We're living in a new age.